Heads up.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's an honor and privilege to be joined today by Leader Chuck Schumer. We've been working closely with Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats in a unified way to stop the Republicans' one big ugly bill from ever becoming law. Later on today on the House floor, Republicans will have an opportunity to stop the GOP tax scam and address the concerns that have been raised by dozens of House Republicans with respect to the damage that the one big ugly bill will do to everyday Americans. The GOP tax scam represents the largest assault on health care in American history. More than 16 million Americans will lose access to health care in the United States of America as a result of the one big ugly bill. Hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down, and people will die because they'll lose access to the medical care that they need. Tens of millions of additional Americans will pay higher premiums, co-pays, and deductibles. There are more than a dozen House Republicans who have indicated that they don't support cutting Medicaid for the people that they represent. Those House Republicans have a chance to stop this bill from even being sent over to the United States Senate by voting no on the rule today. Other House Republicans have indicated that they don't support the cuts to the clean energy tax credits that have generated jobs and economic opportunity in their communities. Yet somehow, mysteriously, they voted for the one big ugly bill a few weeks ago, but now these House Republicans have the ability to stop the GOP tax scam from being sent over to the United States Senate. It's strange to me that you have Republicans who voted for a bill that they apparently dislike and then publicly sent a letter to their Senate Republican colleagues to say, stop these provisions from ever becoming law. I mean, that's the height of irresponsibility. Vote yes and then hope for the best. No, you have a job to do in the House of Representatives. And now you have a second chance to actually stop this one big ugly bill and the provisions that you disagree with, whether that's the cuts to Medicaid or the cuts to clean energy tax credits or the prohibition against regulating artificial intelligence across all 50 states or the aggressive overreach that many Republicans have complained about in terms of trying to strip away the ability of federal courts to issue contempt orders against an out-of-control executive branch. Every single one of those Republicans, dozens of them, now have an opportunity to actually act responsibly, vote no against the rule that will be on the floor of the House, and stop the GOP tax scam from even going over to the United States Senate. I'm thankful again for the leadership and presence of Chuck Schumer. It's now my honor to yield to him.
Thank you. It's great to be back here in the House, and I want to thank Hakeem for the great job he has done and constantly does against this big, ugly bill. Now, as Republican Congress members went home after voting for the bill, they got a huge amount of flack because the more the public knows about this bill, the less they like it. And so many of them said, well, I didn't like that part. I didn't like this part. I didn't even read the bill, some of them say. Well, now is their opportunity to make the changes that they told their constituencies that they don't like in the bill. The bottom line is, what is a Congress member's core power embodied in the Constitution? The power to vote. And they ought to exercise that power to vote this afternoon. because it's a unique opportunity to change this bill. If it's because they didn't technically provide the right bill to pass the Senate, it has to be sent back to the House. And if even a handful of Republicans vote no this afternoon on the rule, they will have that opportunity. They will have the opportunity to change the vicious cuts on Medicaid that hurt so many, that will close rural hospitals in many of their districts. They have the opportunity to restore the tax credits on clean energy, because if they don't, it's going to affect their districts. At least in the Senate, 70%, 75% of the clean energy projects are in Republican states. And I imagine it's not that dissimilar in terms of districts. If they want to stop the vicious cuts to SNAP, if they want to prevent the billionaires from getting tax credits, whatever they went home and told people they didn't like. And a few of them said they didn't even read the bill, and many of them whispered to each other, we didn't know this was in the bill, particularly on the energy tax credits, which was done at the dark of night because Chip Roy and his right-wing Texans just have a religious hatred of clean energy. So now's the time. This is a golden opportunity. If they really mean what they say and they want to change the bill, this is their golden opportunity. Don't throw the key away. Don't shrug your shoulders a second time and say, well, there were things I liked in the bill and didn't like. This is the chance to change it. And I say, and we say, to every Republican Congress member, this vote shows if you're real when you said you want to scale back clean energy, when you said you don't like the Medicaid cuts, when you said the SNAP cuts are too deep, when you said the court's powers of contempt should not be taken away. If you're real about it, if you're not just BSing your constituents, vote no, and then you have an opportunity to change the bill.
Questions?
Leader Jeffries, Gavin Newsom, he said the other day that if the president continues to threaten to withhold funds, then maybe California should consider stop paying taxes. Would you counsel him against this or for this? How do you think he should deal with the president?
I think Gavin Newsom has been doing a tremendous job on behalf of the people of California. And as both Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass have repeatedly pointed out, there are thousands of state and local law enforcement assets that have been deployed on the ground to make sure that the situation in California doesn't escalate out of control. Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have both pointed out, and we agree here in the Capitol, anybody who breaks the law, anybody who assaults police officers, anybody who destroys property should be held accountable to the full extent of the law. And state and local law enforcement officials are prepared to do that. At the same time, we respect the right and should embrace the right for any American to peacefully protest and petition their government to redress any policy grievances that they have. That's embedded in the First Amendment. In terms of any other policy discussion that gets beyond where we are at in terms of this moment, that's for another day.
All I'd add is President Trump is trying to intimidate Gavin Newsom. He said he has shown he's not going to be intimidated, and we're all for that. All for him, and proud that he is refusing to be intimidated by Donald Trump.
Kevin.
On topic and off topic. On topic, on the clean energy tax credits, I spoke to one of those Republicans yesterday, Congressman Lawler, and he didn't really draw that as a red line, needing to see the changes that they're asking for in the letter to try to get his vote on the final bill. Just wondering your reaction. And two, as we're seeing the situation play out in California, how are you two, as New Yorkers, preparing for the possibility of anything like this being duplicated in New York? What are your conversations like? What are you thinking ahead of that potential?
Well, thinking about the issue as it relates to House Republicans from New York and beyond, who wrote a letter to United States senators with respect to their concerns with the deep cuts to the clean energy tax provisions, urging United States senators to fix a problem that these House Republicans could have addressed 2 weeks ago and now have another opportunity to address today. That's extraordinary. understand that the GOP tax scam bill that passed the House narrowly, limped out of the House by one vote, any single one of these so-called moderate Republicans could have stopped the one big ugly bill dead in its tracks. They still have an opportunity to do so because the GOP tax scam bill has not been sent over to the United States Senate. That's why the rule has an opportunity to make some corrections today. But the corrections that are being made are largely technical. The question that Leader Schumer and I are asking, the question that House and Senate Democrats are asking, is that we've seen all of this big, bold talk about concerns that Republicans have with the devastating cuts to Medicaid, the devastating cuts to nutritional assistance, the cuts to clean energy tax credits, the assault on the judiciary, the skyrocketing of the federal deficit by more than $3 trillion. We've heard all of this talk, but then they adopt a posture, Republicans adopt a posture, vote yes, and hope for the best. That's extraordinary. That's the height of irresponsibility. In terms, and I'll yield to Leader Schumer, in terms of the second question, I haven't had a conversation yet with the mayor of the city of New York or the governor. I look forward to that discussion.
On the first question, Lawler has said he hates the Medicaid cuts. Voting no can open the opportunity to undo those Medicaid cuts or at least lessen their severity. So this is an opportunity for Republican Congress members, not just on tax credits for clean energy, which they did write a letter on, but on any issue that they don't like. It's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy to go home and say, I don't like these cuts, and then throw away this golden key. In the Senate, we, through the Byrd process, were able to show that the bill doesn't meet the actual requirements of the Budget Act. And the Republicans had to agree with us, so the bill had to go back. The Senate cannot move on a bill till the House passes a bill. But that gives the House Republicans, especially those who don't like any provision, especially the serious ones, like the health care cuts, and it's not just Medicaid, it's now even Medicare because of sequestration. And, of course, it's ACA, and even those who don't have government insurance will see their rates go up significantly. It's also on SNAP. I mean, we have many of our Republican colleagues saying these cuts are too deep. You want to feed hungry children. For us to take the food away from the mouths of hungry children and give it to tax breaks for billionaires is the height of just awful and corrupt politics.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Good morning.
Oh, sorry. Front row.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. At this podium, this is the rule for HR 4 also would include the rescissions rule. At this podium, you said you believe that is going to be dead in the Senate. I want to ask both of you about that, if you still think that's the case, if you think that's the case, Mr. Leader, and also if you think any Democrats in the House might vote for the rescissions package whenever it comes up for a vote.
I think there's going to be strong Democratic opposition here in the House. We're going to work hard to kill the legislation here in the House of Representatives. This rescissions bill, which is, doing Elon Musk's bidding in terms of devastating cuts to our ability as a country to protect our national security interests all across the world, and then at the same time assaulting, Bert, Ernie, Big Bird, Elmo, and all of the people connected to Sesame Street. That's extraordinary. I mean, who are these people? Cruelty is the point. And so we're going to make the strongest possible case over the next 2 days here in the House, and then I defer to Leader Schumer in terms of what might happen in the Senate.
Well, in the Senate, as you know, they can pass a rescission with 51 votes. We are going to fight this every step of the way. Rescission really makes the budget process so much harder to go forward with. If after a budget is approved, 51 votes can rescind something or anything. We have heard there's some disquiet among some Republicans in the Senate, and we're about rescission. We're going to fight it every step of the way. It's a very bad, bad thing to do, both on the substance and the policy.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Following up on the question about rescissions, there are some Republicans who may have concerns about the provisions in the reconciliation bill, but support clawing back some of these funds for whatever reason. What's your message to those Republicans who say they're going to vote for the rule because they support the rescissions package, even if they have concerns about those provisions in the reconciliation bill, because those two are tied together in the rule that's going to come before the floor today?
Republicans made an intentional decision unnecessarily to tie this rule together. They could separately provide for a vote on the rescissions package in a different rule, or in fact, there's an argument to be made that because rescissions have a privileged status, that it can be brought to the floor. And Jim McGovern, of course, has made this point. Republicans, again, are just trying to hide behind their unwillingness to actually just confront doing the right thing for the people that they represent. That's the fundamental challenge that we have right now in the United States Congress. An unwillingness amongst Republicans to stand up to Donald Trump, stand up to J.D. Vance, stand up to Elon Musk. We are a separate and co-equal branch of government. We don't work for any of those people. We work for everyday Americans, and it's time for House Republicans to stop being nothing more than a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda.
There's no requirement that they have to tie them together. The fact that they tied them together is proof positive of how uncomfortable House Republicans are with this bill. They ought to take that discomfort into action. They have an opportunity. Separate, if they vote no, they can pass the rescissions. We'll fight it every step of the way. But they have an opportunity then to amend the actual bill that does such harm to the American people. So if you want any proof that the Republicans' leadership knows how unpopular this bill is with the American people, it's the way they try to use the rescissions package to get it passed.
Back.
Yeah, there's been some controversy among Republicans on the AI provisions in this bill, specifically the 10-year moratorium. Leader Schumer, I know you've tried to be a leader in a bipartisan way when it comes to AI. What do you make of this with the moratorium? Do you agree with it, and any thoughts on it?
Yeah, the bottom line is that there is a great deal of discussion right now with the parliamentarian whether this would even pass parliamentary muster and pass the bird bath.
Last question.
Do you think this rescissions package makes it harder for potential future budget negotiations if they can just go back and claw back the money on a partisan vote?
Yes, I think it's a challenging situation. And from the very beginning of this Congress, we've made clear that as Democrats, we're prepared to try to find common ground to build an affordable economy, to make life better for everyday Americans, to address the high cost of living. But Republicans continue to conduct themselves with extreme partisanship. And in fact, they've done nothing to make life more affordable for the American people. Not a single thing. In fact, everything that Republicans have done at Donald Trump's direction is going to make life more challenging for everyday Americans. And as is the case with the GOP tax scam, they're doing it to reward their billionaire donors. And the bottom line here is that Republicans have a chance to act upon their concerns with the one big ugly bill. Virginia Foxx, who is the chairwoman of the Rules Committee, tough cookie, straight shooter, someone who, spent her early formative years in the boogie down Bronx, and it continues to show. She said during the Rules Committee that if Republicans have problems with their reconciliation bill, they should vote against the rule. We agree. This is the opportunity for Republicans to actually not simply talk the talk, but walk the walk on behalf of the American people. Leader Schumer to close.
Yeah, what a world we live in. A few days ago, We said as much as we despise Musk, we agreed that this bill is an abomination. Today, we agree with Virginia Fox. It's a rare moment. Let me give you the exact quote of what she said. Any member who has regrets about his or her vote on the first bill has the opportunity to vote no on the rule tomorrow. She's right. We tell these Republicans who don't like any part of the bill, listen to Virginia Fox just this once.
Thank you.
Score prediction for the baseball game tonight?
We'll be close.